Hi, good evening. I'm here on behalf of Morinda Corporation and I'll be presenting the Code of Ethics, and my name is Valia Maskell. The primary purpose of the Code of Ethics is to serve as a guide to behavior for public employees. All employees must follow the provisions of the Code of Ethics. Supervisors. Supervisors are to educate employees of this code of ethics and the requirements applicable to employees' work activities. They are to promote compliance with this code of ethics and other relevant policies, standards, and procedures. And lastly, they are to report. They are to report suspicious or allegations of employees' misconduct in accordance with company procedures. Now we move on to how the corporation treats the employee. Freedom of association. Workers without distinction have the right to join or form a trade union of their own choosing and to bargain collectively. Morinda Corporation adopts an open attitude towards the activities of trade unions and the organizational activities. Working conditions. A safe and hygienic working environment shall be provided. Access to clean toilet facilities and to potable water, a sanitary facility for food storage, and a lunch break room shall be provided. Child labor. There shall be no recruitment of child labor. Children and young persons under the age of 18 shall not be employed. Working hours. Working hours, excluding overtime, shall not exceed 50 hours per week. Overtime shall always be compensated at time and a half and will only be administered after the 50-hour work week have been met. Workers shall be provided with at least one day off in every 7 days. Discrimination. There is no discrimination in hiring, compensation, access to training, promotion, termination or retirement based on race, national origin, religion, disability, gender, marital status, sexual orientation, union membership, or political affiliation. Now we move on to treatment. Physical abuse or discipline, the threat of physical abuse, sexual or other harassment, and verbal abuse or other forms of intimidation shall be prohibited. Immigration compliance. Morinda Corporation may only engage workers who have a legal right to work. Conflict of interest. And this falls under how the employee conducts himself in a work-related environment. Employees shall not enter into any relationship with any employee, director, officer, agent, or representative of Morinda Corporation that creates or reasonably could be expected to create an actual or potential conflict of interest for the Morinda Corporation representative. Honesty and confidentiality. Employees shall hold confidential information in the strictest confidence and shall not, except as required by applicable law, disclose it to anyone without Morinda Corporation's approval, and then only on a need-to-know basis. Honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness must underpin your dealings with customers and colleagues. Dress. Morinda Corporation provides employees with shirts that are branded with the company's name and logo. However, employees must ensure that the rest of their attire is appropriate for the situation in which they are working and that they present a professional image and one that reflects sensitivity to customers' perception. Now we move on to ethical behavior, bribery, and anti-corruption. Our suppliers must not offer nor accept bribes or other means of obtaining undue or improper advantages to anyone for any reason, whether in dealing with governments or the private sector. Employees nor suppliers must comply with applicable anti-corruption laws, including the United States Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and not offer anything of value, either directly or indirectly, to government officials in order to obtain or retain business. Risk management. Suppliers must establish a process to identify the environmental health, safety, and ethical risk associated with the operational and labor practices. Environmental permits and record keeping. Suppliers and employees must obtain and keep current all required environmental permits, approvals, and registrations, and follow applicable operational and reporting requirements. Now we move on to antitrust and trade regulations. International trade. Morinda Corporation should not transact business directly or indirectly with countries, persons, and entities which have been identified by the United States and other nations as prohibited trading parties. We must comply with all applicable laws, regulations, and restrictions on trade and should contact the law department with any questions. We must also comply with the customs and imports laws and regulations in all countries from which we export and to which we import. Internet security. Employees are responsible for ensuring the security of Morinda Corporation by complying with the company's information security standards. They are to use only approved, authorized, and properly licensed software on Morinda Corporation's computer systems. Connect only the company's authorized computers and equipment to the network, and they are not to share passwords. They are not to attempt to degrade the performance of the company's systems. They are not to attempt to circumvent or attack security controls on a computer system or network. They are not to access or download sexually suggestive or explicit gaming, file sharing, or other inappropriate files or websites. And lastly, they are not to share inappropriate or pirated content. Now we move on to social media. Employees are encouraged, if they are engaged in social media activities that identify them as Morinda Corporation employees, to be open and honest about who they are. No false names. They are free to visit or participate on Morinda Corporation sponsored social media sites. And all participation on these sites is purely voluntary. They are to use personal email accounts, not Morinda Corporation email, when setting up or participating in external social media channels. They are to use their own personal devices when making personal references or recommendations on social media outlets such as LinkedIn or Yelp. And lastly, they are to adhere to copyright laws. As we read the don'ts, we come to the end of the Code of Ethics, and employees are not to represent Morinda Corporation on any social media sites, unless they are authorized to speak on behalf of the corporation. They are not to post content about Morinda Corporation, about management, co-workers, shareholders, customers, vendors, affiliates, or competitors that is vulgar, obscene, harassing, or a violation of Morinda Corporation conduct standard, including those addressing discrimination. And here ends the Code of Ethics of Morinda Corporation. And as you review the references, I hope that employees will adhere to these and do them to the best of their abilities. I thank you.